Welcome to Next Level eCommerce, the webinar series where top e-commerce experts share their advanced tips and tricks.
Yes, hello everyone. Good to have you all back for, I think it's already the 6th or the 7th edition even. Actually, today we have a really great speaker ahead here as well as about a very, very specific topic, which is the secrets behind ASICS and Otrium's high converting ads. From Marcel Smal, we'll introduce him in a bit. Actually, we used it a bit as clickbait as well, because he's doing great things not only for this brand but more. So that's actually very nice. So a little bit about what we have actually been through last week, because we had a great agency partner day. Actually, Marcel wasn't there, but a lot of the others as well, where we actually had all the agencies that are working with Channable over for a really great day. So everyone that was there, maybe you can do a little emoji if you were there to also see if we have some people in the audience that had some excitement on that day. Yes, as we can see, that's great. And we actually had a very known guy joining us with a great speaker session in the morning. And actually, we did a small Next Level e-commerce session in the afternoon as well with him. So that was great. And probably you know, let's guess who this actually is. You can use the chat for it so that we can already practice on using that as well. And actually, after that, we found also some more people. And as you might notice, we have indeed Mike Goat Rhodes standing there, and we actually had quite a lot of people for Next Level e-commerce that were presenting as well. So it was actually a great meetup, and we hope to also see more people live there. But a little bit more about Next Level e-commerce itself, and I will keep it very short. And actually, that's also what brought us here today, because we see a lot of cool things happening. And on how to use it and search in the best way, for example. And we really try to get all these insights that we get in our daily work to share it with everyone and have experts to talk about how they do things to also give you a more practical insight on how you can do it. Often we see that there is a clear why and a clear what, but the how is missing. We really tend to give that to you so that if you walk away from this, that you have clear hows on how you can execute those things as well. So that's what we try to do, but also there we need your feedback around it, around the topic, so that we make sure it stays as relevant as we can be for you. So give that back to us. That would be great. And yes, we also have some house rules. We always ask you to be here. I get that there's probably another email popping in or a client calling if you're working for an agency, or there might be an error emergent center. If it's not very urgent, please try to be here for the time that Marcel has taken for it as well. We do have a chat that everyone used, indeed, but we also have a questions tab, and that's basically where you can upvote the best questions, which we will go through at the end to make sure that we can also answer those questions. And the ones that we can't answer on, that's basically the ones that we will get back to you in the follow-up as well, because Marcel also is very generous on reacting to those, but then after the webinar. It could be that we're taking a bit more time, but as you know from us, like we'd rather have good content, taking a bit more time than rushing through it. So that's good. If you haven't watched it, we had Johan in the last session. I was unfortunately not there, but it was a great session, a bit more on how to master relationships as well. So if you haven't seen it, you can actually watch back the recordings of it. And now I think it's time to introduce our guest, but as you know, that's something Jochem always do.
It's a pleasure. Hey, Marcel, and of course everyone else. Fortunately, we didn't have much time to chat before the presentation. We had some technical difficulties, but glad we made it both. Really excited to have you here today. As you can see on the slides, Marcel is another goat in the field, like 12 years of paid search experience. Now co-founder of Roots Network with that exists for 3 years now. It's an agency fully focused on paid search, and you'll see later on in the presentation what they do, because he's sharing some of his best practices that he does for the brands that he's working for. And yeah, of course, his name is small, but his clients are not. Sorry for that. But now he works for big brands like ASICS, Otrium, Matsleep, G-Star, as you can see on the screen. And I think many people that I saw some companies that are joining today. I think many of you can learn from what he's showing today. So really excited to have you here, Marcel.
And actually, it's a great, nice one, because this is actually why we set up Next Level eCommerce. And I always said, hey, there are so many good things happening. Why can't we give these people the stage to tell a bit more about that? And with Marcel, I've actually been working quite closely on some of the accounts as well. So it's great to also have you here. So welcome, Marcel.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really nice introduction. And I think what Jochem mentioned, like we work for some pretty big advertisers like ASICS, Otrium, etc. And for those big advertisers, obviously you want to automate your paid search campaigns. And that is what this topic today is going to be about, that you automate your text ads campaigns, but that you do have that creative control. So I want to start off with a quick poll to kind of get a sense of what you people are doing. So first question in the poll is, who uses a campaign automation tool? Kind of curious about this one, how many people use it already or how many want to use it. And then I'll go to the next slide already. And that is, if you are using a campaign automation tool, if you do automate your paid search campaigns, then I think you know the struggle. So the struggle is you have this product feed, but you have to transform it into these attractive ads. And as you know, a product feed is never the way structured that you get those really nice ads that plays into the needs, desires, problems, and wants that people have. So, automation is awesome, of course. You will save hundreds of hours per month. You have real-time offering, full scope of product services that you can advertise on. Scale is much quicker to new markets. You reduce errors, but there's also there can be a cost of quality as well. So you might risk having really templatized sort of one-size-fits-all ads. You can feel you have a lack of control. You can feel, if you do screw up, it will also be on a much larger scale. And I think there's really one iconic example of an advertiser who did everything wrong, and that's eBay. And I think it's already of like 10 or 15 years ago, but they started advertising on everything they had to offer. So then they also started offering love, apparently. So they had ads of love. If you would search for love, you would see their ads, which you could buy cheaply. So that is definitely not what you want to have if you're going to be automating. What you want to have is that you have the benefits of scale while maintaining a high level of creative control. And I'm kind of curious about the poll now. I don't know if can we see it already, Jules?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see it actually, but about 70% is using automation tooling.
Okay. That's great. So like some of the topics I will go into are pretty clear for most of them. Hopefully I will persuade like the 30% who don't yet, I will persuade them to be using a tool like this. So the focus of today is going to be about automated text ads campaigns for paid search. And we're going to be specifically talking about creating good ads. We could be talking about campaigns, ad group, keyword creation, assets, etc., but that's going to take way too much time. So we're going to specifically be talking about ads. And it is going to be about paid search, but the concept we'll be talking about can be applied to other channels as well, like Meta or Marketplace, etc. And obviously, like an entire paid search setup obviously is really broad. So you have like branded, non-branded, category keywords, brands, brand codes, product lines, products, etc. If we're going to be talking about examples today, it's really going to be about subcategories. So that's a small part of that. So to continue again, what we want to achieve when we're automating paid search campaigns is you want to have scale, but you want to remain that high level of creative control. And there are 3 pillars which we always use to get that. The first is using supplemental feeds to add additional information to the feed which you need for paid search. Then to set this up correctly in your campaign automation tool by having the right rules. And then you implement that in your ad template and really kind of abuse the backup templates to get the best ads. The first part is the supplemental feeds, which you use to enrich your product feed with the right kind of data. So this leads to the second poll, which is who uses supplemental feeds already. I'm curious about this one as well. So we had 70% who said that they use campaign automation tools. Then I'm now curious how many people use supplemental feeds as well. If you've got a response there, Jules, then you can interrupt me and say like how much it is.
We already get quite some answers in.
Yeah.
About 60% does.
Yeah.
20% not, and there are also about 20% that has the question, what is that?
Okay, that's actually great because what it is, that's what I will be talking about like in the coming 3 slides. So like the supplemental feeds, like if you have a campaign automation tool, it basically works like this. You've got a product feed, you've got your campaign automation tool, and then you have your automated campaigns. eBay screws this up, like, or in the past they did, not anymore. They also sold babies, apparently. I also love this example. But to not get those one-size-fits-all ads, what we always do, and apparently 60% does it in some way as well maybe, is that you use supplemental feeds in your setup. So you connect a supplemental feed which enriches your data for example, more specific ad copy, but you can also enrich it with additional third-party data which you use in your setup. So what it is, if you have your campaign automation tool, you can always set up your source feed, and then you can also add additional feeds, supplemental feed, with which you can add or combine additional information based on a shared match key, basically. So if I can explain it here a bit more detailed, is you've got your source feed, and let's say your source feed contains a category, so category 2, for example. You can add a supplemental feed which contains category 2 as well, and then specific headlines, for example, for those category 2s. You then use category 2 as your match key, so it is available in the source feed and it is available in your supplemental feed. And then you connect it with your campaign automation tool, so for example, Channable, and then that data will be merged. I think a good way of thinking about this is like it's kind of like a VLOOKUP which you have in your campaign automation tool. So we can use this in a really good way to add like additional ad copy, for example. So how you can do that is you can create a spreadsheet. It can also be any other type of feed that you want to use, but we often use spreadsheets for that, Google spreadsheets. And then you fill it with the information that is already in the feed. So that is category 2, for example. And then you can add the headlines, the descriptions, but also, for example, promotions that might apply for those categories, or it might be any other type of information. For this example, we will be talking about headlines, descriptions, promo descriptions, but you can do it much more extensively as well, of course. So this is where you start. You have your Google spreadsheet and you have your specific ad copy. You can do this obviously with generative AI as well. So we use the Google Sheets plugin GPT for Sheets, where you can then have ChatGPT creating those specific ad copy for you. I would, in this case, always apply the 80-20 rule. So for your most important keywords, products, etc., write the ad copy yourself, because I do think humans are still better at it than generative AI. But for the rest, the bulk of your products, you can use generative AI as well, which you do have to like check, of course, because sometimes it can be a bit weird. Okay, so let's say you have this in your spreadsheet. You then want to connect this with your campaign automation tool like Channable, for example. You first have to publish your spreadsheet to the web. You do that by going to File, Share, Publish to Web, and then you can select the tab which contains your information, and you can create a feed out of that tab. Then you've got that feed. You can connect that into Channable, for example, and then you will see in Channable that it loads in the field which you have in your spreadsheet. And then you can use combine on field, and you combine it on the field category 2. If you then update your tool, this information will be matched, it will be mapped, and then it will be in your tool. So in this example, we've got our product, we've got category 2, which was already in the source feed, and now category 2 headline, category 2 description, promo headline, promo description have all been added out of this spreadsheet. If people have any more questions about this, then maybe we can discuss this a bit further, like after the webinar as well. Okay, so this was the first part, adding that additional information to the feed, which gets you that nice specific ad copy, so you don't have to have those templatized ads. The second step is to really implement this in the right way in Channable by having the right rules. So what we want to achieve are ad copy which communicate really good content. So that's going to be promotions, prices, discounts, that specific ad copy. What we do for Otrium, for example, it's an outlet store, of course. So we want to be communicating the right discounts for the specific brands, but they also sometimes have even better discounts. So then we want to communicate that as well. We've all implemented that in Channable. For ASICS, what's really nice is that on their website, people write really good product reviews. So we select the best product reviews that we see on the website, and we map that to those products in a supplemental feed, and then we communicate that in the ad copy. And basically any other type of dynamic things you see in these ads, so price extensions, side links, etc., have been created in similar types of ways as what we're gonna be doing for those ad copy. If you are gonna be creating rules, here are a few tips in setting up those rules. And first of all, it's gonna be like having a clear naming convention. So it's really easy to have like all types of different rules, like different people working in it, and then kind of losing track of what's happening in your account setup, which can be a bit dangerous as well, because some rules might be excluding products or whatever. So we recommend to have really clear naming conventions. So that if other people in your team are working in the account, they know what's happening in that account. The second thing is having structured groups of rules. So we always have like the set of rules which we use for URLs, for example, all in the same place. For the paths, for the keywords, for any other type of groups of rules, we really group them together. And we use like basically sort of like a placeholder rule, which doesn't contain anything. We just have it passed, which specify what group of rule it is to make it much easier for people to understand what's going on in the account. And the last one, that's something that we kind of learned by, kind of the hard way, is if you are creating fields for your own specific channel, then use the descriptor. So for example, for paid search, use the descriptor like S_, so that if people of other channels are working in the Channable account, that they know these fields are being used by the paid search team, and we better don't use it. And you can use like different descriptors for different channels, for example. And I think an important one is to think about on what level you are going to be placing the rules. So you can often create rules on campaign level, on ad group level, or on some shared level. So the shared level are master rules for Channable. And we always recommend, if it are kind of general rules, then use master rules as much as possible, and don't use campaign rules too much, or don't even use them at all. The reason is master rules you can connect with multiple builders. You can really easily scale that over multiple projects for multiple countries, for example. And if you have to make an adjustment, you can do it in one place, and then it applies to multiple builders. If you have it like too deep, like on campaign or ad group level, then you might risk, like forgetting it, or it will just take a lot more time to make those adjustments. Okay, so a few specific rules like that I will explain here. First of all, for the specific ad copy that we just explained, how you can have that in your supplemental feed. Obviously, sometimes you don't have specific copy filled in your feed, so you want to have backup text. You can do that with a rule of if category 2 headline is empty, then create a new headline, which can be your category 2 combined with some type of text. I would recommend here to have multiple backups, because you do want to fill the maximum amount of characters. So if it's longer than 30, then you have shorter text. If that's longer than 30, shorter. That way you capitalize the most of your ad real estate, basically. So that's for the specific ad copy. For price fields, I think what's really important for price fields is that you use the calculate item group rule. And that is because in paid search, a lot of people don't actually search for the really most specific products. So people more often search for categories, for example, so sneakers, or categories combined with brands. So let's say Nike sneakers, and that's a group of products. So that also means that for that group of products, you have multiple prices. And with this rule, you can say for a category, I want to have the lowest price, for example. So then for sneakers, it will search for the lowest price, and that is the price you can communicate. One thing to add here is that often you've got combinations of groups as well. So let's say brand and category, those are very important keywords generally. If you have brand and category, you first have to create a group in Channable where you combine brand and category, and then you will use the calculate item group to get the lowest price of that combined group. And one more tip here as well, if you're going to be using prices, is nobody always has the lowest prices, no advertiser. And if you don't have the lowest prices, or at least really sharp prices, then you don't want to communicate that in your ad copy. So what you can do as well with supplemental feeds is that you map benchmark prices as well, and then create a rule. If price is higher than benchmark price, then clear price. So that way you don't communicate prices once it is higher than the market average. For discounts, you first want to have rules where you calculate a discount. So that's basically new value minus old value divided by old value times 100. And then you've got the discounts on product level. And then you have to use the item group or calculate item group again, but then the other way to calculate the highest discount of a certain group of products. And then you want to create all the other fields that you need in your ad copy as well. So your pods, your URLs, etc. to then create your ad copy. And that's going to be the third part of this presentation. And that is using your backup ad template. And with your backup ad template, what's important here is often you can communicate multiple things in your ad copy. So there might be promotions going on, a discount, you've got prices you can communicate, specific ad copy, default text. There's multiple things that you can communicate. So you want to prioritize this. And you can do this by using your backup ad template in the right way. So with your backup ad template, for example, you've got like 5 backups, and it will skip to the next template if you reach your character limit, or if fields are empty, then it will go to the next template. And if that's too long or empty, then it will go to the next and to the next. So how you can use that is you have to think about what has the highest priority to communicate, and then have that in the first place. So let's say promotions are your highest priority, so those are like site-wide promotions, then you can create an ad template where that has the highest prio. And then, for example, for socks, you have the ad tags now 20% off and free delivery. So the promotion. If there's no and then also to add here, what we always notice is discounts and promotions are so important to communicate. If they apply to your product, then we always pin it to the second position. But this is something that you might want to test as well for your advertiser. So you can also add a second ad template in which you pin it in one ad template, you don't pin it in the other, and then you can test what works best. For us, like in all the tests, like it works best to pin promotions and discounts on the second headline. If there's no promotion, then the second priority might be discounts. So then you can create an ad copy which communicates the discount. So for example, bags which have 36% off. If there's no promotion, no discount, then you might want to communicate the prices if they are above benchmark. So that could be sneakers from $28.99. And then if there's no promotions, no discounts, no price above benchmark, then you would want to have your default ad copy, which is still a specific ad copy, but you don't communicate anything else. And that's basically your last default ad text that you want to communicate. So that's the way how you first start with your supplemental feed, then the rules, and then have it in your ad copy. And then we already go to the last part. And for the last part, I want to ask a question about if anybody ever made a big impact mistake in their work. So that's going to be about the next section. I'm kind of curious about this one. So that can be like an overspend, or, you know, like creating the wrong ad copy or the wrong keywords or the wrong landing pages. I'm kind of curious if how many people made big impact mistakes in their work.
Yeah, we actually have an audience who never made mistakes. We have 70% that made big mistakes, and I think that's also good, right? Because from big mistakes we learn.
Yeah. You do learn of it. But what is the percentage of people who like made big mistakes?
70%.
70% made mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good thing. Like if you're innovating, then you're very likely to also make mistakes. But like, we want to mitigate like any type of mistakes that we know that can happen, because with Murphy's Law, you know, if anything can go wrong, then at some point something will go wrong. So what we always do in our setup, we create like rules to make sure if something does go wrong that we solve that. So let's say for prices, you can create like, if for some reason the prices are much too high or much too low in the feed, you know that it can be a currency problem or something weird happening like that. If it's much too high, much too low, you can create a rule for it. Like if that's the case, that it will then get cleared. Same applies to discounts. If something weird happens, you don't want to communicate discounts which are like higher than 100%. So you can create rules for that as well. And then like another last thing that we have in all our accounts are a few fail-safe rules, which is a set of rules which we always have passed. But if for some reason it's necessary, we will enable that rule. And what those rules do is, for example, for discount, it's a rule that says if enabled, like if all, then clear all the discount fields. If for some reason the feed doesn't update anymore, for example, or the prices are incorrect, sale prices are incorrect, discounts are incorrect, and your client calls you like, it doesn't make sense anymore, then you can enable this rule. You run an update, all of the discount fields are cleared, and then the fallback ad copy will be implemented. So you can really quickly take back control if something goes wrong. And we have that for multiple things. So that's for prices, if that's wrong, for discounts, for promotions, any other type of thing where you think now it's important to have an override, that you have that in place. I have to say, like, we had to use this quite often already because, weird things can happen in the feed and you want to be able to act quickly. Yeah, and that brings me to the end. So in your paid search setup, you want to be using supplemental feeds. You can use for your ad copy, and you can use AI for that to generate those texts. With your rules, I would really recommend to keep it clean and tidy. For your ad copy, think about what you prioritize of communicating first, and use ad template of backup templates for that. And with if everything is in place, then think about what can go wrong and try to create some rules already to mitigate this. And then in the end, like, I hope that we can then create those ads which are really attractive, where you really communicate the best thing that those products and that your brand has to offer, to then get those high converting ads and have consumers want to buy your products. And that's it. Thanks all for listening. And let me know if there's any questions that we can talk about. You can add me to LinkedIn as well. Would be fun.
That's great. Thank you a lot, Marcel. You of course know how you work, and it probably took some time to get there, and probably also learn by doing. How long did it take you to get to this stage that you have this process in place?
I think we use like campaign automation quite long already. Like at my previous agency where we worked at, like I Prospect Dentsu, we had like our own campaign automation tool. And it was a bit more like you had to talk with developers to kind of get the rules in place. So that really gets you into the mindset of thinking like a developer and like instructing them to get those rules. And we took that into Channable as well. And I really like Channable, where you can do everything like really clearly yourself. But sometimes you do kind of have to you have to innovate a bit, and you have to kind of sometimes learn the hard way what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I actually saw that there were quite some people making big mistakes as well, spending 100K over a weekend. Doesn't sound good, Mark. So we actually feel bad for you, but hopefully you learned a lot from it. So again, thanks a lot, Marcel. We actually have quite some questions. And that's where I give the stage back to Jochem to ask you the questions that we have from the audience.
Yeah. Yes, many questions today. Okay, first question from another Marcel. Will the slides be shared after this presentation? Yes, they will be shared to everyone. And I think we will also, like, the questions that do not get answered here, they will also be shared, I think, in the email.
You saw Marcel was very tense for the first question, and then you ask, will the slides be shared? And he doesn't have to answer anything.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah. Okay, then let's go to the second one from Jeroen Blom. Where do you get your price benchmark data to check if your price is right?
Yeah, you can use the Merchant Center for that, of course. So either like use the price benchmark report, which you can download. Yeah, you can download it like manually. I know there's a few plugins, but you have to pay for that. But that's a way of then mapping those specific prices on product level with a supplemental feed, and then create those rules to have that in place as well. There's also like third-party tools who scrape that type of data. But I do think it's important, like to even if you're doing it manually, to have this kind of override function, because sometimes it can be kind of lame if you advertise your price and it's like 30 euros more expensive than other advertisers are offering. Then it's then you're like communicating a non-USP. So if you are going to be using prices, I would create some type of an override function to make sure, like, if it's necessary, that you then don't communicate that price.
Nice, good one. I hope that one is answered. Next one is from Wessel. It's about, I think, A/B testing. So you mentioned, for example, the pinning or not to pin, that you saw like better results. But how are you measuring that?
Yeah, you can like if it's like two ad templates, then you can compare. Yeah, CTR, of course. You do have to think about your test setup, and like in channel or in Google Ads, you can also adjust on ad group level the ad how do you call it, like ad rouleren, like the ad optimization option. So on ad group level, you can say rotate indefinitely, and then you can have a better A/B test. You do kind of have to take into account like how often is that template being shown compared to the other ad templates. But if you create a test like this, like an A/B test, then you can see the results. You could also create an experiment like on campaign level, but I think then you're kind of like trying to shoot a mosquito with a bazooka. So I would like recommend here to just use an extra ad template set on rotate indefinitely and then compare the results.
Okay, smart one. Next one from Mark Paul. For promotions that are limited to a time, how do you automate this?
Yeah, there's multiple options here, but like you can like in a spreadsheet, like it's all of course like Excel formulas. So what we do sometimes is that with Excel formulas we reference to like a specific start and end date. So once the promotion is finished, then it will be cleared from the spreadsheet, and then it will be like removed in Channable as well with the next update. You can also use time rules as well. I have to say, like we always use like this in the spreadsheet, so we don't use it like that. So I think maybe Jules or Jochem might know this a bit better. But you can reference to time as well, right? Like with certain rules.
Yeah, I can answer that. We have time-based rules indeed. Yeah, so that's quite easy. You can just say like if a specific date or 2 weeks before a specific date, and then you can basically mention a specific headline or don't mention it.
Yeah, and another thing that go ahead, Jules.
Yeah, so especially if you work for an agency or you're not handling the promotions yourself, then this would be a really good way to automate it. Because you can basically let either the owner of the web shop or whoever is in charge of these promotions, put those promotions in the spreadsheet, for example, or in any other system with a start and end date, and then you can completely automate everything, and then everything will go right as long as they put the right start and end date in there. So you don't have to tweak a lot yourself.
Yeah.
Nice. I think that's also a good bridge to the next question from Bas. It's about the supplemental feeds, and he's asking why not just use the rules and make custom fields there.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a great rule. This is a great question, I think. Anything you do in a supplemental feed, you can do that with rules as well. But the thing is, you have to create so many more rules to do like one basic thing. So let's say you want to have that specific ad copy for a certain category. You could make a rule: if category 2 is sneakers, then fill this in headline, description, etc. But like if you like this will take a lot more work to make like all types of specific rules. While on the other hand, if you create a spreadsheet, it kind of feels like your own user interface in a way. You create a spreadsheet, you can fill in everything there, and then you only have to create that set of rules like one time. If empty, then do this, then do that, and then if you make any changes in the spreadsheet, like you don't have to adjust any rules. Like it's a much more safe to do it like and time efficient to do it in that way. And what we also have, like we just build a little script that automatically updates any of the source data in the feed. So I showed in an example that you have category 2, for example. We've got a little script in the spreadsheet that pulls the data every day from the source feed. And if there's a new category 2, it will be added there as well. And then like every once in a while, we have to check, okay, are there new categories? We fill it in, and then it will be implemented into the setup. And then you don't have to like work in all types of rules all the time. Which we think saves a lot of time.
Nice. Yeah, I think that one is answered. Next question is from Max. For a premium brand like ASICS, does the advertiser have any objections to prioritize promotions or discounts in the ad copy? Or would you use rules to exclude categories?
Yeah. That is the case indeed. We like they do have specific demands there, so we have taken that all into account, and then we do have certain limitations there. So it's also like ASICS also has outlet products, for example, and then they don't want to communicate that too aggressively. So there we have another way of working than for full price, for example. So we've all implemented that in our setup. So basically, you have to talk with your with the brand you're working for, and then ask like, okay, what is most important? Like, what can happen, and what do we want to communicate, and then implement that accordingly in your setup.
Cool, clear. You want to say something?
I think we do one more question, and then but you can do the last question.
Okay, sure. Now just pick the one with the most upvotes. Suddenly got a refresh. From Thomas, do you have experience with communicating sales in your ad copy? For example, spring sale 15% off instead of USPs like free shipping. And I think the main question is, did it positively impact the click-through rate when you tried this?
Sales information. Yeah. For us, like those sales types of ads, like basically always work the best. That's why we always have it in there, like as a promo headline and promo description, and we have it like pinned to the second position and really prominently, because it's such a huge USP, you know. Like if there's also free shipping, then I would always like say like 20% off and free shipping. Mm-hmm. But it's something that like it's a shame if you click on an ad and that you then see that a product is even cheaper than you were expecting. So I would always say if there's some type of a discount, then I would always communicate that. And it can be whatever type of discount there is. It could also be 1+1 for free, or a second product half price. You can just map that in your supplemental feed and communicate that. Yeah.
Nice. Well, maybe then one last question from my side. We talked mostly about big brands today. When is there like a specific size of advertisers that when you say like, hey, this is the border, basically, this is the moment you should use an automation tool instead of doing things manually?
Yeah, I would say if you've got like more than like 50 products and or a changing inventory, like a rapidly changing inventory or changing information like prices, etc., then I would use a feed management tool and a campaign automation tool. If it's going to be less, then I prefer like to do it manually, because then you have more control to do like the nitty-gritty things, and your competitors are also doing the nitty-gritty things, so you also have to compete with that. But if it gets like more complex, like more products, more changes, then it will just save you a lot of time to automate it. Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for all the insights, Marcel. We definitely appreciate it a lot. It would, for everyone that is still in here, really appreciate also your feedback on how you found the session of Marcel. Was it good? Was it too advanced? Less advanced? So give us feedback. You can also shout it on LinkedIn. You can even connect to it. And we have a next session already waiting, which is also good. So we have Daniel in the next one about maximizing Google Ads with IA agents. So kind of the Mike Road session 2.0. So it will be a very cool session to also join next time. And then for now, thank you a lot. And we might have one poll left to see what your next topic would be, so that we also know who to invite next. We give you the most value out of what you want. So we'll wait for that in one sec so that everyone can answer that. And I see already a lot of Performance Max coming in. advanced feed optimization, conversion rate optimization. I think we never did one on that. But the Performance Max one is still going good, so, which is nice. I think we have quite some candidates, right, about Performance Max one. And in e-commerce is something we will do next time as well. So thanks a lot for all the votes coming in. And I think by this, it's also time to say bye to you all. And then we see you next time. Thanks again, Marcel. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Marcel.
Thank you for joining Next Level E-commerce. If you want to see more, check out our YouTube or give us a follow on LinkedIn to get more e-commerce tips and tricks. See you at the next one.